Hey, welcome to my show. Today we have an experiment plan. We're gonna test out how effective an oil cleanser is. This one is the Hada Labo oil cleanser. We're gonna compare it to just a regular kitchen oil, olive oil. So I used to use just pure oil for my first step in cleansing. I actually used to use jojoba oil, which is not technically an oil, it's actually a wax of the jojoba seed. Really, if you break down the ingredients of an oil cleanser like the Hada Labo one, it includes jojoba oil and olive oil, but it also includes some emulsifiers that act as mild surfactants that allow it to wash off better, ostensibly. That's why a lot of people might opt for going with the more expensive option, which is really buying this cosmetic oil cleanser. So today we're gonna really test this out and see if maybe it makes sense to save money and just go with the kitchen oil. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I feel so rude for not introducing my guest stars today, Molly and Belinda. Molly and Belinda have graciously volunteered to be our muse for the day, to allow us to really get the makeup off of them. So that includes a water resistant sunscreen, the Australian brand to be exact. This is a BB cream in the medium tan variety. I also used some eyeshadows and whatnot, and those just adhered to this melon. Oh my God. Okay, so anyway, they had a rough night. Things got a little out of hand last night. Their makeup looked a lot better before. But at any rate, it'll do. And what was I talking about again? Molly and Belinda have different preferences when it comes to their skincare. Molly is all about commercial products, buying things that are properly formulated, not messing around with any of the DIY stuff. She's somewhat narrow-minded. Belinda, on the other hand, is a naturalist. She's a self-proclaimed hippie, and whenever she can DIY, she does. So she loves to use olive oil as her first cleansing step. All right, let's do that now. Let's start with Molly. She's the most responsible one, although last night Belinda was a bad influence on her. So we're gonna start with Hada Labo on Molly, and we'll do about 1 pump of that. And we're just going to really, really just going to, bye Molly. I don't know what to do right now. Belinda, your turn. You just want to press it in gently to relieve the eye makeup. Work it on the rest. We're just going to rinse with water for now and see what happens. Both sides are still covered in makeup. You can see that it's still kind of readily coming off when I scrape at it. Let's see what happens when we use a water-based cleanser. So I have this Cetaphil dupe that I got at CVS. I don't use it anymore because I don't recommend it. I don't like this. It has sodium lauryl sulfate, which is just not a great thing for the skin, but we'll use it for our friends today because they're fine. Okay, that's looking promising. Oh yeah, that's coming off nicely. Good job, Belinda. The olive oil Belinda side. This is the Hada Labo Molly side. I'm alarmed. Look how much makeup is left on them. This is Molly and this is Belinda. I suppose we should see what happens if we go in one more time. I wouldn't want to rub my face this hard. This is very eye-opening. Okay, so that didn't work. But in better news, this is the sweetest melon I've ever had. Rest in peace. So I'm not gonna leave you hanging. We're gonna finish off this experiment right. So what ended up happening was basically I just ended up forgetting where Molly and Belinda were on the melon. And also, I was just alarmed by how poorly the cleanser was working. I just figured, you know what, let's start over. Maybe I used too much makeup and it was unrealistic, especially because I did their hair. So we're gonna do this in a new way. I'm gonna finish this melon. I cut off a piece that was very smooth. So I'll do smaller pieces. I'm just gonna use a little bit of makeup, but I'll use majority sunscreen this time around, and it'll be more manageable if they're smaller pieces from the same section of the melon, but also I can separate them so that there's not like a bunch of cross-contamination like there was last time. Please drop a like if you appreciate this. So I have 2 pieces from the same section of melon. I'm going to write in permanent marker on them. I'm not sure if the cleansing will lift it or not, but I'll mark one with O for olive oil and the other one with H for Hada Labo. So I'm gonna put the sunscreen on. We won't go overboard with the makeup this time. We'll put some eyes on and lips. Actually, I think both of them could use a little more sunscreen, just so that we can be realistic. Yeah, because you know, we want to simulate reality here. Now we'll call her Helen and Oliver. Then we can't forget the lips. Perfect! We'll let them dry, and then we'll come back to do our experiment. So when you usually wear sunscreen and makeup and whatnot, it will naturally rub off throughout the day and you'll sweat and it'll evaporate. Well, melons don't sweat. This sunscreen is still wet. It's been like 2.5 hours. I feel like to simulate reality, we actually have to wipe some of it off of both of them. I'm just gonna basically lay tissue over both of them and press to blot. Oh, Helen. Oh, Oliver. I feel like that's more acceptable now. And it didn't completely ruin their faces. Shh. Like we said, Oliver's gonna have the oil, Helen's gonna have the Hada Labo, and we'll start with Helen. Just taking off the day. It wasn't the worst day, but it also wasn't the best day. So we just want to forget that it happened. Right, very good. Good enough. Not noticing any major difference. I want to see if there's any emulsifying action happening with the Hada Labo. Yeah. We're gonna wash them now. The Hada Labo did maybe just a slightly better job. So let's go in with our water-based cleanser now and see if there's a difference after that. Sorry, I realized my mic was on the floor that entire time. So now I'm using a gel cleanser. And what I was saying is that it works well, but you have to stay in one spot for a while and then it eventually picks up the dirt. Yeah, but you know, I'm actually using quite a lot of cleanser here and it's still not getting it up. And if I want to get it out of these edges, I just have to rub like harder than I would like to on my actual face. It will come up, but you have to like scrub it off. I'm just gonna go straight away and wash Helen off. I'm being a lot harsher than I would on my skin because it's not gonna come out otherwise, and it was the same thing with Hada Labo. But it kind of seems like this side is coming off more easily. I don't have to scrub the edges or anything very hard. The edges on this one are a little dark, but that's how they were starting off, so. But yeah, I mean, like I'll just try to use the same amount of gel, but it doesn't need as much on this side, interestingly enough. It's also maybe a slightly smaller surface area, but the difference in the amount of gel that I needed to get it to this point is pretty stark, and the difference in surface area is not as stark. All right, let's go wash him off. This is a tough call. I don't know. Helen has a little bit of lipstick still. Oliver's completely clean. So this is what we're gonna do. And yes, I know makeup wiped, it's an abomination, but they're useful sometimes, especially when you're out and about and you're wearing a mask and you need to clean your face so you don't get maskne. I have some on hand. I don't use them every night because I just think it is wasteful. Even though the Simple brand, their wipes are biodegradable after 45 days or so. But I carry some around sometimes, but I don't rely on them and I don't prefer them. Just to clear that up, because I'm scared of everyone online. What I'm gonna do is just wipe both of these and see if I can pick up anything and then like compare how much is on either. So that's totally clean. So I'll just use it on Helen. Definitely got some of that lipstick off. It's barely noticeable, but there is a little bit on there. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so I mean, I know that there are some flaws with this experiment, of course. Mainly that I couldn't control for having a perfectly similar surface area between the two pieces, but I also didn't measure out the amount of makeup that I used on either of them. I didn't measure the amount of oil I used between the two different types of oils, nor the cleansers or the amount of time that I washed them underwater. I tried to be as equal as possible between the two, but there's always error involved when humans are doing experiments like this. I don't want to say that this is like the ultimate answer, but I'm saying that this calls for more experimentation. It's definitely eye-opening to me. Based on what I saw today, I would conclude that if you're going to use an oil cleanser and an oil cleanser only, go for one that's formulated for washing your skin. But if you're going to use a two-step cleanse, perhaps actually going with a plant kitchen oil is more effective. Whether that's true for other oils or waxes like jojoba oil is not something I can speak to right now, obviously. Maybe it makes sense because when you're using an olive oil, you're using a pure ingredient, a pure oil, like dissolves like. But for washing it off, you do need some kind of surfactant. Okay, very interesting. I wasn't expecting to actually get any real results. I thought that either both just wouldn't work because melons aren't the same as our skin, but they are still porous like our skin, but not as porous as our skin. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Hope it was helpful. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel before you go. Turn on those notifications, and I'll see you next time for something exciting. Bye.